Welcome to Tracker RMS Evolution. You're watching Orientation Video 2. Today, we'll be going over how data is organized in Tracker, record types, record lists, preset and saved views, a layout of a generic record, logging activities, and the Home section. So when you log into Tracker, you will see My To-Do List, and your to-do list is probably going to be much more empty than this if you're just getting started. So keep in mind that once you kind of get up and running, this will be much more easy to navigate because this will be all your information and your to-do list. I'm going to start with how data is organized in Tracker. You'll find your navigation menu either on the top or left-hand side of the screen. In Orientation Video 1, I showed you how to move your navigation bar to the top if you prefer it this way. So you'll see here that Tracker is organized into a very diverse set of records. We have company records, contact records, who are the people who work at those companies, campaign records, which are our word for bulk emailing, lead records, job records, assignment or project records. Now this is where you would manage any deliverables that happen after the placement is made. Candidate records, invoices, time and expenses, and reporting. Now if you don't see all of these different record types across your screen, that's okay, and it's probably good news. The more simple your system looks, the better, until you kind of get up and running and you can add different tabs that you need. So from here, I'm going to go ahead and show you what preset views look like in Tracker. So let's go ahead and hover over candidates. If you hover over the candidates, you'll see about 6 preset views that Tracker's created for you. You'll see My Candidates, which are candidates that are owned by you, All Candidates, which are all the candidates in the system, New Candidates, any candidates that have been added to the system in the last 7 days, Active Candidates, those candidates with a status that is active, Inactive Candidates, any candidates within an inactive status, such as Do Not Use or Blacklisted, My Favorites, which is any candidate that you've marked as a favorite. So these are the preset views that Tracker has created for you to make it a quick jump into a certain list. If we take a look at the jobs, you'll see that Tracker's created a little bit different set of preset view of jobs, including My, anything owned by you, all jobs in the system, New, anything added in the last 7 days, Open, anything in an open status, such as resume sent to client or currently interviewing, Closed, so any jobs that you may have lost to the competitor or are on hold for any reason, Won jobs, which are jobs that you actually made a placement, Renewed jobs, which are any jobs that have continued on beyond the initial contract period, and My Favorites, again, any record that you mark as a favorite. So these are the different preset views that we've created for you to make it easy to jump right into, let's say, your open jobs list. So if we take a look, let's go ahead and click on one of our preset views. Let's take a look at all of our open jobs in the system. So I am looking at 54 open jobs. As you can see, there's a lot of information on this page. The next thing I want to show you guys is columns. You'll see here columns across the top that may look a little bit different than yours. One thing you can always do is rearrange the columns by just dragging the column header name. So if I prefer the company name to be right over here by the job name, I can just drag it over and now you'll see it's right next to the job name. Rearranging your columns is pretty easy, and so is adding or removing columns. Click on the Columns button in the top right corner to find all the columns you're seeing. So maybe this short list column, it's just a lot going on right now and I don't want to see it. All I need to do is uncheck that box and hit Save. And what that does is it removes that column for me. I can do the same thing maybe with the long list column, or I don't know, maybe the assigned column. So let's go ahead and remove those as well. The assigned column and the long list column are just not columns I need to see at this time, so I'm going to uncheck those boxes and hit save. And now you can see that those columns are no longer in my view. Please keep in mind that all the columns are set at a user level, so each user can set their own columns. These are not going to affect anyone else in your database or on your team. Adding a column happens the exact same way. Click on that column button and scroll on down and find a column that you'd like to see. Maybe you'd like to see when the job was open or which department it's in. Let's go ahead and hit save, which will add both those columns to the end. And maybe I want the department column to be all the way over here, so I can just drag around my new columns. So again, set up your columns the way you'd like them set up. This is a great thing to do right off the bat when you get into your system. And this will help you use your lists to your advantage. Right now, you're looking at a jobs list, so all your columns are going to be set the way that are helpful for you. The same thing will go with your candidates. So let's take a look at our preset view of my candidates so I can see all the candidates that are owned by me. So it looks like I have 510 candidates for which I'm the owner, and as you can see, I have quite a few different columns in here. I definitely recommend going through and cleaning up the columns or adding columns that are helpful for you. So for example, this option right here, plain resume or plain CV, that's a great one for you to add in, because if you go ahead and click on that, you can actually see a real quick version of their resume. So it's going to be unformatted and it's not going to be super pretty, but that's because it's meant for speed. You'll also see right next to it is the actual resume, which will then, if you click on that icon, open up the Word or PDF document of their resume, which takes a little longer because you need to open up Microsoft Word. So adding in those columns right off the bat, you'll see CV plain and CV or resume plain view and real resume view. Go ahead and add those columns in, just like I showed you in the last view, and hit save. Again, you can always rearrange these by dragging around the columns. So again, setting these columns are super helpful to get you up and running with a nice view. The next thing I want to show you guys are saved views and a really basic search. You guys will learn more about searching as you kind of dive deeper into your training, but I'm going to show you the very basics because saved views are going to be something that's really helpful. So, for example, if you want to run a filter to create a saved view, you'll click on the filter button in the top right-hand corner. From here, you can go ahead and narrow down your search. So let's say I want to see all of my, let's go engineering today. I want to see all of my engineering managers, or maybe I just type in engineer. Once I go ahead and hit go, actually before I hit go, you'll want to take a look. You can really narrow it down. You can search resume, you can search addresses and location, all sorts of things. Today I'm just going to do something really simple, search by job title, and I'm going to hit go. So now if you take a look, everyone in the job title category has the word engineer or engineering in it. So these are my engineers, and I can go ahead and filter it down a little bit more by, maybe engineers I've last contacted, over a month ago, whatever it may be. You can really narrow this down. So now I have 86 people who meet this criteria. What I'm going to do now is hit the Save button in the top right corner. This Save button will allow me to save this as a view, just like those preset views that Tracker created for you, so that you can easily access this at any time. So I'm going to call it Engineers. I can call it My Engineers. I can call it Engineers I haven't contacted in over a month. I can call it anything I want. And I can also share it with others on my team by simply selecting the people that I'd like to share it with. Now I'm going to go ahead and hit Save. When I save this, you'll see here that this now shows this as my Engineers view. So where I'll find this is if I hover over candidates, instead of using the preset views that Tracker created for us, I'll now see it under My Views. And you'll see here I have created a ton of different views because these are just searches I don't need to run each time. So here's my engineers view right from here. Now I can also toggle between all my different views by using this little arrow up at the top to see all the different views I have and sift through them. So if I want to jump into my Java developers view, I'd simply use that drop-down arrow to switch views. So that's how you create your own saved views, which is really helpful. So now that we've taken a look at record lists, let's go ahead and take a look at an actual record. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the candidate name, which is going to open up this candidate record. Now this candidate record, I know this is a candidate because the green circle around this photo up here matches this green icon right here. So I know that we're looking at a candidate record. Within the candidate record, all of the records in Tracker look very similar. You'll see the executive summary across the top where you can add a photo or see other information. The candidate name will be right at the top. This first little heart here is the favorite, so if you do go ahead and click on that little heart, then they will then show up in the My Favorites section. This next icon here is the Tag This Record, where you can add in a note right to the top of the record, and it will add right here in purple so you can make sure that no one on your team misses this high priority note. If you'd like to edit that note, simply click again, make edits, or clear it out. This little link icon is letting me know that this record is related to a contact record. The next icon here is their resume, so I can quickly view their resume by clicking on this little link, or this little icon. You'll also see their job title and their current employer right at the top in their executive summary. You'll see their owner, you'll see their current candidate status, and you'll see when they've last been contacted and when their next activity is. Now, because this activity was never completed, it's still showing as the next time you should contact them. So we should get that updated. The next thing you're going to see is different record blocks. So this is the candidate details record block. This is the work and personal information records block. And if you scroll through, you'll see quite a few pieces of information. Now, keep in mind that Tracker is very customizable. So if your candidate record has different tabs or maybe is in a different order than you see here, that's okay. That's because your system may be customized to however you'd like to see the layout. You can rearrange these blocks in any tab or hide them from your view. You'll see different tabs on the left-hand side where you can find all the information about this particular record. Now I want to show you guys the action menu. The action menu is a blue button at the top of every record. If you open it, you'll see different actions that you can action out for this record. So because we're looking at a candidate record, you'll see things like assign to job, send an email, or link to a new contact. If we're looking at an action menu on a different record type, you'll see different actions. From here, you'll be able to log out different actions, so we'll come back to that in a bit. If you do make any changes to a candidate or contact record at any time, make sure to hit save. Save only will allow you to stay on this particular record and keep working. Save and close will take you back to the last list that you were viewing. Now, from here, I want to go ahead and show you guys how to log activities and why that's important. Logging activities is super important because you can really keep track of your organization, gather metrics, and be able to be relevant when it comes to connecting with a candidate, a contact, or anyone else in your industry. So if we do use that action menu and you come here to log an activity, you'll see here there's lots of different activities that you can log. Let's say we just picked up the phone to call Aaron and see if he's interested in working with us. We're going to go ahead and select telephone call, and we're going to go ahead and update that subject line. So in this case, are you interested? Whatever it might be. We can add all of our phone call notes right into the notes section. Now, because we just got off the phone with him, the date and time are going to be accurate. But if this happened an hour ago, you can always change that. Or guess 2 hours ago. You'll see right down here, you can edit, you can add in, different types of fields. So these are some custom fields that we've added in. And you'll see right down here, this is going to be a really important part about logging activities, is what is this candidate or this particular activity linked to? So this activity is linked to the candidate. And that's because we're just calling the candidate about something very generic. We're not calling the candidate about a specific job. We're not calling the candidate about working with a specific client or company. We're really just calling the candidate to see if they're interested in working with us, if they're, interested in switching roles or looking into new opportunities. We just, basic phone call. So we're going to go ahead and leave it linked to that. Now, if by chance that it was also going to be related to a particular job, I can start typing in the job and add in another association. So I know that it's related to that lead or that job. The next section is who it's assigned to. So my name is Andy Henry, so this activity is assigned to me because I'm the one logging it. And then finally, you'll see reminders and updates at the bottom. So you can also set follow-ups very easily by saying, remind me to follow up on this by telephone with, and then this is going to be the subject line. So I can either remind me or any of these blue things can be changed. So we can say, remind Emily tomorrow or myself, whatever it might be, to follow up on this by, maybe with a task tomorrow or with an appointment tomorrow, or maybe even later today. If I click in here, I can actually go ahead and update the follow-up as well. You can also see that you can update things right from here, and these updates are going to be related to, whatever's in the association box. So maybe we want to also update the candidate's status to active now that we called him and we know that he's interested. So I'm going to go ahead and hit complete because this phone call has been completed. I'm not going to hit OK because then it's going to leave my status at not started. So I'm not logging a future call. I'm logging a call that just happened, so I'm going to go ahead and hit complete. So you'll see a couple things here. All right, so first, because the status didn't update, looks like the status did update right away. That's awesome. I was going to say, if it doesn't update right away, you can always hit the refresh button, and that usually allows you to see the status up or any of the changes that you've made. So if you don't see the update right away, that's okay. You can always refresh your page. And then if you come over here to the job history section, to the activity section, you'll see here that here is the, there is the Are You Interested phone call. So here's all these follow-up calls for future reference. So here is my completed phone call, Are You Interested? Can always open it up and take a look at anything that happened in that phone call. And I can also see my schedule appointment follow-up. That is my reminder that's going to happen later today. Okay. So activities are really important, and I know that was just a brief overview, but let's dive into activities just a bit more. I'm going to hover over the Home section and go into Activities. So this Activity section is going to default filter to yourself, up to today, and pending. So if you need a reminder on that, you'll head over to the filter to be reminded of the 3 different filters that we're filtering on. So this activity list is everything that is pending, so not complete yet, up to today, which means anything I haven't done today, yesterday, or the day before, etc. And it's currently assigned to me. So I can take a look at all of my pending activities for the day, and I can say, okay, there's my follow-up. So since I scheduled a follow-up for today, it's going to pop right into my activity to-do list so that I can be reminded to do that. Once I follow up with him and schedule that appointment, I can go ahead and complete that. And once I do complete it, looks like this particular field I've logged as mandatory. Once I have completed that activity, it will no longer live on my activity to-do list because it's no longer a pending activity. It has been completed. All right, I'm going to take a look at the home screen and go back to my main home page. So when I first log into Tracker, This is my home screen, my to-do list. So now that you understand activities just a bit more, you'll be able to understand this a bit better. Here's everything that's a task, so just tasks that I need to complete. If I do complete a couple of tasks, I can check them off, which will move them off my outstanding and into completed. So once I refresh that, that'll move on down. All my telephone calls that I need to make, so once I do make these telephone calls, I can simply check them off. And again, once we leave and come back to this page or refresh the page, they'll just automatically drop off there. Any alerts that I set up, so if you guys have questions about setting up alerts, make sure to reference that orientation video 1 on where to find those and how to set those up. Here's all of my alerts, so if I do need to see that text message that I received from Erin, I can click this arrow to go over to it, or I can click this little green checkbox to clear the notification if I no longer need it. The what have I done today is super helpful because you can see all of the things you've done so far today. So as you can see, it'll show the timestamp of everything that I've looked at today and what I've done. So I can always click back into a record right from here if I need to. You can also find the what have I done today on any screen by using this option right up here. And then down here you'll see my calendar. So your calendar is filled with all sorts of different activities that you've logged. So interviews that are coming up, follow-up phone calls, any sort of activity that you need, you can go ahead and see it right from here. You can open it up, make any changes, you can complete it or leave it at not started. So that's the majority of everything today. The last thing I want to show you is how to add new records. So we briefly went over this on orientation video 1, but what you'll want to do to add new records is from any screen you can click on the Add New Record button, this magic wand right at the top. And then from here, you can select which record you're trying to add. So if you're trying to add a new company, you can go ahead and add the new company. So I'm going to go ahead and add my new company in here. And then you'll go ahead and add in, oh, looks like this is a duplicate company, so we don't want to do that. It's a great way to see that there is a deduper. So from here, you'll see that my management team has also added in some mandatory fields, so I'm required to go ahead and put in the vertical that this particular company is. OK simply creates the record, but does not take me to the new record. It lets me stay on the screen I'm working. And the OK and Edit will create the record and take me into the new record. I always recommend doing that just because then it takes you to the new record where you can go in and fill out all the other important information. It's important to know, what kind of company rank it is, where this company came from, all sorts of stuff. Fill in the background information everywhere, etc. Better data that goes in, the better the system is going to work for you. Make sure to hit save if you make any changes. As you can see, a company record is formatted very similar to the candidate record I already showed you. It's got the tabs on the left, it's got the executive summary across the top, and it's got the action menu right here. Let's say we wanted to add a contact now. You can go ahead and use that Add New Record button, hit New Contact, and because we're already in the Tracker RMSS company, you'll see here that it auto-populated with the company. So that's a quick trick. If you are filling out someone for this particular company, you can be in the company record already, and that will allow you to automatically associate. You'll go ahead and fill out the rest of the information and hit OK and Edit to go into that new company. From the new, to the new contact. From the new contact section, again, you'll see that the format is very similar. You have the executive summary across the top, you have the tabs on the left, and you have lots of fields that you can fill in with lots of information. Again, your contact record might look a little bit different than mine, and that's because Tracker is fully customizable. Talk to your management team about rearranging the record if you want to see fields or blocks in different areas. If you don't see a field that you're hoping to capture information for, we can always add custom fields as well. Now the same thing goes with adding a candidate. If we click on Add New Record and hit Add New Candidate, this is where you can drag and drop resumes. So that's the best thing about adding candidates, is you don't need to add them manually like you would a company or contact. You can drop a resume here. So you'll first want to set the status of the candidate and choose if you want to assign them to a job and the short list or long list. So if I wanted to assign this candidate over to this Java developer role to the long list, I could do that and simply drag the resume right here on this little green cloud. If I don't have a resume and I just want to manually add the candidate, I can click the Named button, which will then allow me to manually add the name. From here, you'll see that the following fields are also required, which means my management team gave me mandatory fields that I need to add in. And again, OK will create the new candidate, and OK and Edit will take me to that new candidate. So from the New Candidate section, you've already seen what a candidate record looks like. You can favorite it, or flag it, or move it across the screen. If I take a look at my candidates and go to the New Candidates section, you'll see that this particular candidate is right here because it is the only candidate that's been added in the last 7 days. So hopefully this list is a bit longer when you guys are looking at it. So that completes the orientation training. Hopefully you guys learned a lot about the system and that you have tons of burning questions for getting into the recruitment workflow. So the next thing you'll want to do is take a look at our recruitment workflow videos, and that's going to go over everything from opening a job all the way through making a placement. Thank you so much for listening.